Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready for another deep dive?
Always excited to explore something new.
Well, today we're going to a place that's, well, how should I put it? Like stepping into a time machine. We're talking about Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. A land of incredible history and culture, for sure.
Yeah, and I gotta admit, when I first started researching, I mostly thought about, you know, coffee.
Right, Ethiopia is famous for that, but there's so much more.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
It's like once you start digging, you realize how deep the roots go. We're talking ancient civilizations, a unique religious history.
absolutely. It's one of the oldest Christian nations in the world. Did you know that?
Yeah, I read that. Like, they adopted Christianity before a lot of Europe did.
Exactly. And they have their own distinct branch of Christianity, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. It's fascinating how it's shaped their culture.
So it's not just a quick history lesson. We're talking about a whole way of life. All right, let's start unpacking this. First things first. Ethiopia has a ton of different ethnic groups.
It does. Over 80, in fact. It's incredible.
Wow. Okay, so give me the rundown. Like, who are the major players?
Well, you've got the Oromo, the largest group, then the Amhara, the Tigray, and the Somali. Each one has its own language, traditions,
Hold on. So we're not even talking about dialects. These are entirely different languages.
separate languages. And each group has its own unique customs, clothing styles, music, dance. It's really a celebration of diversity.
Okay, so how does that even work? Like, in daily life, how do people from all these different backgrounds, coexist?
Well, that's the beauty of it. This diversity isn't something new. It's been woven into the fabric of Ethiopian society for centuries.
Okay, so they're used to it. But, like, is there a common thread? Something that ties everyone together?
That's a great question. I'd say despite the diversity, there's a shared sense of history, a deep respect for tradition.
Makes sense. You can't be one of the oldest countries in the world without having a strong sense of history.
Right. And that history, that ancient connection to the land, it really permeates everything.
Okay, I got to ask about the religion thing again. You mentioned the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. What makes it so different?
Well, for one, they have their own unique practices and interpretations of scripture. For example, they believe that the Ark of the Covenant, the chest that held the Ten Commandments,
The Ark of the Covenant, like from Indiana Jones?
that's the one. They believe it's actually in Ethiopia, brought there by Menelik I, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba.
Whoa, that's some serious historical cred right there. So religion clearly plays a big role.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just Christianity. There's a significant Muslim population, especially in the East. And then you have indigenous belief systems that have existed for centuries.
So it's like layers upon layers of faith and tradition. Okay, let's talk about language. You said 80 different ethnic groups. I'm assuming that means a whole lot of languages.
You got it. It's pretty amazing to think about. But to make things a little easier, Amharic is the official language.
So that's how people communicate across different groups.
For the most part, yes. But you'll still hear a symphony of languages everywhere you go. Tigrinya, Oromo, Somali. It's all part of the soundscape of Ethiopia.
Wow, a symphony of languages. That's a great way to put it. All right, I'm getting hungry just thinking about all this diversity. So let's talk food.
Ethiopian food. One of my favorites. Have you ever had injera?
I have. Love that spongy sourdough bread. It's so unique.
It really is. It's made from teff, an ancient grain that's been cultivated in Ethiopia for thousands of years. It's naturally gluten-free, too.
And you use it to scoop up all those amazing stews, right?
Yes, the whites. Spicy, flavorful stews made with meat, lentils, or veggies. It's a communal experience, everyone sharing from the same plate.
Love that. It's like breaking bread, literally, to build connections.
Yeah.
And speaking of communal experiences, the Ethiopian coffee ceremony, right? Tell me about that.
The coffee ceremony. It's more than just a cup of coffee. It's a ritual, a social event, a way of honoring guests.
Yeah, I've heard it's a pretty big deal. Like, what actually happens?
Well, first, green coffee beans are roasted right in front of you, filling the air with this incredible aroma. Then, the coffee is brewed in a traditional clay pot called a jibina.
Wow, so it's freshly roasted, freshly brewed. Talk about taking your time to savor the flavor.
Exactly. It's about slowing down, enjoying the process. The first cup is the strongest, the second a bit milder, and the third is considered the sweetest.
I love that. It's like a whole philosophy built around a cup of coffee. Okay, you can't talk about Ethiopian culture without mentioning the music and dance, right? What's the vibe like?
Oh, it's vibrant. You've got the masenko, a one-stringed fiddle that plays these haunting, beautiful melodies. Then there's the krar, a lyre-like instrument. and the kibera drums, which set the rhythm for
I bet
celebrations.
the dancing is pretty energetic.
Oh, yeah. The shoulder dance, especially in the Amhara and Tigray regions, is incredible. So much energy and movement. The dances tell stories, they express emotions. They're really captivating to watch.
I can only imagine. It sounds like a party I definitely want to be at.
Yeah.
And everyone's dressed to the nines, I bet, in those colorful traditional clothes I've seen pictures of.
Absolutely. For women, it's the habesha kemis, a long, flowing white dress, often with intricate embroidery. Men wear the jano, a loose-fitting cotton garment.
And I've seen some really unique styles, especially in rural areas.
Oh, definitely. The clothing styles vary from region to region, each one reflecting the specific cultural heritage of that community. It's a visual feast.
So we've talked about the people, the religion, the food, the music, but let's zoom out for a second. Ethiopia has one of the longest, most storied histories of any nation on Earth.
Yeah.
What are some of the highlights?
Well, for starters, we have to mention the Aksumite Empire. It
Right.
was a major power in ancient times, had its own written language, minted its own coins. They even traded with the Roman Empire.
Wow, so they were global players way back then.
Oh, yeah. And then, of course, there are the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela. These incredible churches were literally carved out of solid rock in the 12th century.
I've seen pictures. They're mind-blowing. It's amazing to think about the skill and dedication that went into creating them.
It's a testament to the ingenuity and architectural prowess of the Ethiopians. And speaking of incredible feats, Ethiopia is one of the few African countries that was never colonized.
Right. They managed to maintain their independence through it all.
Exactly. And I think that independent spirit, that resilience, it really shines through in their culture.
It definitely makes sense. You don't survive that long without having a strong sense of identity and self-reliance.
Absolutely. And I think that history of independence has also shaped their values. There's a strong emphasis on community, on respecting elders, on hospitality.
Yes. The hospitality. Everyone says that Ethiopians are some of the most welcoming people you'll ever meet.
It's true. There's a real sense of warmth and generosity. They really value personal connections.
I love that. It makes you realize how much we can learn from other cultures, even ones that seem very different from our own.
Couldn't agree more. There's always something new to discover, some fresh perspective to gain.
Well, I know I've learned a ton today. What started as a simple interest in Ethiopian coffee has turned into this incredible journey through history, faith, and culture.
It's amazing how one thing can lead to another, isn't it?
It really is. So for all of you listening, I encourage you to do your own deep dive into Ethiopian culture. There's just so much to explore.
And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to book a trip.
Now that's an adventure I'd be down for. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you then. See you then.